Corky Siegel. Hello, WSSO friends. I hope this finds you well. I have a very special guest artist with me today, the acclaimed musician, singer, songwriter, and composer Corky Siegel. Corky is known internationally as one of the world's great blues harmonica players, and is the sole pioneer of award-winning revolutionary works that weave blues and classical forms together. Corky has performed multiple times with the West Suburban Symphony. In 2003, he performed William Russo's Street Music with us, which later we took on tour to England. And in 2015, he soloed in his own composition, Symphonic Blues. Corky, thanks for being here.
Thank you, Peter. It's so good to see you again.
So let's talk for a second about your weaving together of blues and classical music, because you did that with the Siegel Schwal Band, and you did it with Chicago with your chamber blues group, and you've performed your music with Chicago Symphony, San Francisco Symphony, New York Philharmonic, Philadelphia too. Weren't you afraid that classical music audiences just wouldn't take to this weaving of blues and classical music together? What was your thought process on that?
Well, one of the great fortunes is my deep naivety. I never thought about it either way. In fact, when William Russo and Seiji Ozawa and I sat down to talk about, and they asked me, a 21-year-old kid, how are we going to do this? Because we realized we wanted it to be the symphony, not to just back up a blues band. That wasn't the idea. We wanted it to be a collaboration. And basically I said, we should do something for everyone to not like. And they loved that. They loved it. And they went for that. And they went for it. And then there were other ways to do it. But what I should tell you is that coming right out of Pepper's Show Lounge with all the blues masters, night after night, I walk into Big John's. We auditioned there. Big John's was on the north side of Chicago on Wells Street. It was ground zero for the rock blues revolution. There was Jim and I. We get the gig. This one guy's coming in night after night after night. And one night he comes up to me and he says, I want your band to jam with my band. And I'm thinking, who is this guy and what's his band? So it turns out, I said, well, what's your band? And he said, the Chicago Symphony. And it was Seiji Ozawa. And he was the guest conductor of the Chicago Symphony. And he wanted to bring blues and classical together because he thought blues was a spark. That was
Seiji Ozawa the motivation for Will Russo to write the piece?
Yeah, it was Seiji Ozawa all along. And Bill and I went along with it. We chose Bill as a composer. And Bill was a fan of Siegel Schwal's also. And so it was sort of a perfect thing. And, we just did it. But I could tell you a quick story that expresses the idea of classical audiences, So in 1969, Siegel Schwal wasn't together at that time. So I put a little blues band together because Seiji Ozawa wanted me to do the William Russo piece with the New York Philharmonic. So we get on stage and the audience starts booing and hissing like you can't believe. Because it was 1969, the height of what was called the generation gap, the establishment versus the hippies. Not too dissimilar to what we're experiencing now in our divisions. And people started screaming and booing because we walked on stage with our amplifiers and long hair and not dressed properly, which Seiji did not. He said, I want you to wear jeans. I don't want you to get dressed up for this. We had 4 concerts with the New York Philharmonic at Lincoln Center. Okay. People were booing and spitting, and Seiji comes over and says, Corky, what should we do? I mean, he knew exactly what we should do, but he was playing and he said, what should we do? Let's just play. We'll have some fun, Seiji. Okay. So we played the end of the piece, immediate, full 100% standing ovation.
Beautiful.
the president of the Symphonization Association approached me and said, that was the longest and most intense standing ovation he has ever seen in Lincoln Center. And he said, the only thing reminiscent was Caruso's last performance. Okay.
You broke
So
down the barriers.
here I am, let's see, 69, 24-year-old kid or something like that. Music made this anger and hatred disappear into thin air. This is the power of music.
Beautiful.
This is what I'm going to do the rest of my life with that understanding. So I carried with me an understanding of music can do this work.
Right.
If we let it do it.
Right.
Get out of the way and let it do its thing. So
amen. Amen to that.
Yeah. So I never, when I started writing chamber blues, I did think there's a target on my back and people are going to hate it. I didn't care because this is what I'm supposed to do. It was clear.
Right.
I did it.
Right.
I was so surprised when the critics actually loved it and everyone really loved it. So